What's up, guys? It's the Digi-Bros. I'm David.
I'm Eric. And today we are joined by...
This is Amir. I'm Amir, y'all.
Yep, we got a special guest, and it's his first time on the podcast, so we're excited to have him, and he's excited to be here.
First time we got a guest, too, in a while. I think the last guest we had was your brother John almost a year ago. Amir, did you want to give the people a little bit of background?
My name's Amir Al Horoub. I'm a film student right now, and I was previously, playing basketball, but I've always had like a love for film for my whole life. I just kind of kept it to myself for many reasons, but I think now I just finally made that decision just to do what I wanted to do and kind of just not think about how the other people perceive me. So I just went with the flow, and hopefully, actually not hopefully, but I know that things are gonna turn out really good. They've been turning out good already, so I'm just can't wait for this next chapter.
I gotta say, because even just I remember texting you back and forth with the idea, because if you guys don't know, I think me and David talked about this on the last podcast. One of my projects at the end of last year was editing your short film.
Right.
And I was telling David, like, the ideas you had for even just, like, sound design or just different shots and storytelling are, like, really good. Especially just for, like, early on. So I know that's just going to keep developing more. I'm excited to see, like, how that continues to grow.
Yeah, man. I'm excited, too. I know one thing that really stopped me for a long time was just that I didn't have the equipment like everyone else. So that was the one thing that really kept me like stagnant for many years, just like, I don't have a camera. I don't have a mount. I don't have, a mic or anything. But, I had to turn and think like, man, just use what you have, just for right now, So I just had to go into, Super 8 mode and just start, just using what I had, found had friends that have helped me, of course, David, Eli, Olivia, so they're a really big key factor into, and of course you, because there's times where, I would have been like, man, what is this man asking me to do? Like, I was like, so, having the patience and being there just to be by my side and just help me, it really means a lot. So that's just having that foundation to just start.
And that's like really huge thing, especially in the beginning. Because I know this especially is like in the beginning, it's everything's fresh and everything's fun, and eventually you can like put a lot of pressure on yourself to do better than your last film, last project, whatever. In the beginning, literally just like have fun, have people that want to tag along. Like in the beginning, I would just do stuff with my brother Austin because it was COVID, we couldn't go anywhere. And then once things started to like ease up, okay, David, I would go out, we'll try taking long exposures, try taking star photos. So it was just like literally anything we thought was cool, let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. If it works, cool. If not, oh well, we tried. And it's like, that's like advice I'll give you, just keep trying things. Like whether you have an idea for a 1-minute film, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just try it. Certain shots you want to try out, try it. Like different types of storytelling techniques, try it. So that's like a big thing of advice I can tell you.
Right, man. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, like, for you, Eric, how did photography? How did you know that was like a passion of yours throughout your life?
Now that's a good question. So it's actually I get this question all the time, especially when I work with new clients. They're like, "How did you get into photography?" So in high school, I took multiple video production classes, like since the beginning of sophomore year, I believe. So sophomore year, junior year were both video production classes, and I think part of junior year, maybe the whole year, I kind of forget because it's been a while, we had like a morning news, and I was able to, I wasn't really like the one to be like, let me sit there and like broadcast and tell the people the school news and sports news and all that. I was like, okay, let me get the packages and the stories about schools and things within the Oak Park community and Sacramento community, and like I enjoyed that. So I go out, okay, this is my project. I go out with like a few people. We go out, okay, work with these people, interview them, go to this event for the school, film all that, learn from our teacher, shout out to Mr. Hogan, all these different shots, B-roll, A-roll, just different ways to actually like, ask questions and interview people. I really enjoyed that process, but then I'd say beginning of senior year, I took another class, I think it was just called Senior Video, where it was literally just like every few months you'd have a new video project to do. And I was like, this is cool and all, but I was like, I feel like there's something more that I could do within it. And then it was always kind of funny how I came across photography. I remember It was like literally like I think Thanksgiving break in 2019. I was literally just chilling in my room here, and I'm like, all right, I'm bored. I don't want to like play video games. I've been to the gym. I'm just chilling. I go on YouTube on my iPad, and I just see a video, and I still remember it was said like POV portrait photography, and this guy was in like Melbourne, Australia or something. And I just watched him like, whoa, this is cool. And he was literally just taking photos of like buildings and strangers, and I thought like that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what it was, but that just sparked something. And I remember like the rest of that day, I just binge watched like this dude's whole channel.
The
And
YouTube,
yes,
bro.
That's how it is, bro. Yeah.
And then like after that, boom, more other people started popping up, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Okay, this guy's taking photos of cars. That looks cool. Oh, portraits here, long exposures here, and I had all these different ideas. I'm like, I want to try that out. I want to try that out. And then like a few months go by, I'm still doing the video class. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But in my meantime, like sometimes in class, because I had a study hall class, I just watch photography videos. I'm like, I just want to learn everything.
Yeah.
And then again, I was in that same position to you, where I'm like, okay, I don't have the camera, so I originally thought I'll just wait. But then I used my old iPhone, I think it was like iPhone 8, and I would just take photos of anything. Like literally, there's like a trail over here. I would just go over there, take photos of like trees, flowers, anything. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, like I thought this was like crazy timing at the time, but like beginning of 2020, like literally first week, a friend from our high school named Colton was like, yo, I'm selling an old camera. Do you want it?
That, yeah.
And I was like, yes, I'll pay anything bet. And I take it, and sitting over on that shelf, I don't know if you can see it, it's all the way on the right. Really old Nikon camera. All it does is take photos. Yeah. And it's like, that thing is almost as old as me. Like that thing came out in like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he had that. It was like with like a 18 to 24 lens and like a 70 to 200. Like, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I instantly start going out on the weekends and just taking photos out here, like on the trails, going to the park, taking photos. My brothers play basketball. Like, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then boom, COVID hits. So I'm like, oh, obviously COVID's a bad thing. I don't want to say it was a good thing, but some good did come from that. And I was like,
definitely.
And I was like, I have so much more free time to just dive in on this photography. So then I'm like trying to think of all these new ideas. Like I tried to challenge myself, I think especially in the month of March in 2020, to try to take a new photo or new photo idea every day. And I feel like that kind of started like a little chain reaction for me, because every day I was waking up like so excited, like, well, what can I do today? What things can I try out? What things can I plan to try out for in the coming days? What can I have my brother pose and do? What can he help me? And it was just like, I don't know, it was a really fun process. And then I'd say end of 2020 is when me and David started just doing ideas. Like, I think the first thing we ever did was literally just like, he flew his drone around and I took photos of him. Like, he's flying his drone. I'm just getting like candid shots. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. We're like freaking out. Then we're like, oh, let's go over to this little area. Boom, you do some long exposures. I'll capture this. And then from there, we just kept hanging out, trying ideas. And then for me posting it, a lot of just portraits of David. Some people hit me up, hey, can you do my grad photos?
A lot of the ones.
Yeah, so a lot of these, I'm gonna have to put a shot in the video.
I saw it, I'm like,
Yeah. So this is my little photo wall. So a lot of this stuff on the right side is my beginning stuff. You see, it's just like, that's a photo of a bench. That's literally probably before you pulled into my like little road. Just trying different things. This is like a little hill. Like, you see me?
Like,
Wait,
see
that's
the
a bench right there?
progress.
Yeah, the little wood right there going like that.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yes, so
I didn't
yeah, so these are all just things I just tried out. I'm like, oh, these are cool.
Yeah.
And then eventually you see all these ones with David. It's turning a lot more into portraits of David. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I started posting these. And this guy actually right here in the beating, shout out to Wyatt. He's like, yo, can you do my grad photos? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, okay, bet. I do them. And then he pays me for it. I'm like, yo, wait, I'm getting paid for this. This is cool.
And
then,
like, I can get paid.
and then I was like, okay, maybe I can actually like, do something with this. And then 2021, it was still a little slow year because I'm still in the early phases, but then, a little more bookings from my brother Austin and his friends that were graduating at the time from their undergrad programs. I do their grad photos, and then it led to just me and David doing more stuff, just so we could keep getting that practice in, trying new things. David was still doing a little bit of drone stuff, and then 2022, it just kind of took off in the sense of just a lot of bookings of grads, and that's like my main thing is grad shoots, and just portraits in general for like brands or just like, people that want photos. And it just kept growing ever since. So I know it's a long explanation, but that's how I got into it.
That's I feel like that's good. People gotta know like how it starts off, because that's the most important thing.
100%.
Like in any journey that you have, like the beginning of how everything starts off is the most important. 100%. Because it's humbling for sure. So I want to ask Toe like too, like I know you said you and David like built that relationship.
Yeah.
Like how is that been able to like flourish through your guys' relationship, like kind of,
That's a good question.
you know?
So it's funny. So in high school, I always tell people this. We had a math class together, and David would just come up in the morning because we'd always be there in the morning. Yo, Eric, do you have the homework? I'm like, yes, sir.
I'll be like, hey, Eric, you got the homework? Because guess who forgot to do it, bro?
Come on, bro.
It just became a routine where he'd come in the morning, and then like as you're writing down the homework, I'm just like, oh, we get to know this guy. We're just like talking about like school and sports or whatever.
Star Wars 2.
Oh, 100%. Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a new season?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta watch
season
that.
Season 3.
Don't give me any spoilers. I do.
But Luke Skywalker.
I'm
kidding. I'm kidding.
Duct tape is
So, and then right when I got my camera, I remember telling David, I'm like, yo, dude, I got this camera. And then I made that little photography page, Eric's photos, and just posted me and things like, yo, that's cool. And then like during COVID, you got a drone. I remember texting like, yo, we got to set something up. And then I think a little bit of time goes by, and then things start to ease, and we can actually like go places publicly. I'm like, hey, like let's meet up. Let's literally just go to the park. We played basketball for a while.
We did.
And just shooting around, and then we were just like,
I think one of the first shoots too. Well, like I say shoots, but like we were just like hanging out. It was at Palladio.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that? Yeah. And so we were like,
I think that was the same day.
Yeah, exactly. We just like hung out and like we were just messing around with this camera and the drone and stuff. And so just like kind of like getting to know each other like through like the photography stuff. And then it just got like easier and easier. Like once we hung out, like we would just be like, all right, like let's get into it and just we let the ideas flow off of each other. I don't want to cut you off. That's the biggest thing though, is the ideas we've noticed after the first time hanging out. The ideas just kept bouncing off of each other. You should do this. David's like, oh, I should try this pose. I'm like, oh, what if I try that? Then the next time we hang out, let's go to this place and let's do this, and it just kind of kept flowing. So I think having that group of like creative people really helps a lot. Exactly. That's why I'm like glad I get to know you because it's filmmaking. Because I know that the three of us can make some cool stuff, especially going into the summer as well. I know we talked about that idea for the short film. I think if that doesn't happen, let's got to make something happen.
For sure. That's the good thing about having creative people. If something doesn't work out the first time, there's always something else someone thinks about.
100%.
That's the amazing thing about having creative minds around. Like you said, bouncing off like, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, let's do this. Or if this might work, what else can we add? Then okay, then let's add that, and it's just a constant fluidity. Just keep going.
I want to ask you a question. What kind of inspired you to get into filmmaking? Was it certain movies, people, actors, actresses, directors?
Man, I'm glad you asked that too. So I would say how it all started was I was in about fifth to sixth grade, and my grandma, she kind of opened the whole movie world to me, because my mom would usually go on like work trips and stuff. So she would go out of town for a week or a couple of days, and me and my grandma would stay at the house. And this is how we kind of built our relationship. She would always take care of me and make sure I was fed, take me to the park. So, but at night, I would remember we would be in her room, and there was this movie. I'm not sure if you guys know, or not movie, but channel. It's called Sci-Fi.
Oh,
So it's Sci-Fi, and they have a bunch of these movies. They have the top 10 list, and most of them are like horror movies. So at first, my mom was like, don't let him see any of these movies. So I'm like, and my grandma was like, oh, okay. But then she kind of tells me like, hey, if you don't tell mom, like, you can watch the movie. So I was like, all right. So they have the top 10 list. They have, The Shining, The Ring, Cube, Children of the Corn, Jeepers Creepers. All those movies.
I'd be crying, bro.
But they have all those movies. But I was scared, but it was like a thrill, more of a thrill. So I was like, I like this. So I kind of I started just watching more and more, and then so that's where it all really started. But I can say where it really kind of flipped the switch to where I was like, I want to make my own films, like my own movies, and direct them and be a part of a movie. Was when it was in what was it? It was 10th grade, my sophomore year of high school. And that year was like the start of like a really bad like 4 years. It was pretty bad, pretty dark. Me and my dad didn't have the best relationship. It was pretty bad. So I don't remember one day I came home from school, and I go to the living room, and this movie comes on his TV channel, and me loving movies, I'm like, okay, let's see what this movie's about, and that movie was Prisoners. I don't know, have you guys seen it?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it's directed by Denis Villeneuve. He's a good director. One of my favorite directors. But that movie comes on, and my dad comes in, and my whole mood changes. So I was gonna turn the movie off, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just keep watching the movie, and just throughout the movie, we just started to connect and just kind of try to break down the movie. So I was like, after the movie ended, things went back to how they were. We just didn't talk at all, really. It kind of slowed our relationship, kind of died back down. But for that 2 hours, I was like, yo, movies can bring. It's more than just looking at a movie. Like it brings you together. So
that's really cool.
That's where I kind of flipped the switch, and I was like, yo, I want to bring people together myself, and I want to make a story and have people relate to it, and then just have people come together. Yeah. So I think that's where it really changed for me, and I was just held back so many years because of how people would think of me, because I was playing basketball at the time, fully invested. I just always had that thought of this Amir, he's an athlete, what he's gonna look like going and becoming just a student, being just a film student. And at that time, and right now I'm thinking about it, and it's like, it's so what? But back then I was like, I was like, my mom poured in so much money, and I have all my friends with me, and they really helped me. That's the main reason why I kept playing basketball, was just because my friends, they kind of helped me stay away from, keep my head out of what was going on at home sometimes. So that was the main reason, one of the main reasons. And it just went from there,
Gotcha. I kind of relate to you in the fact that, like, bringing people together, because, like, for the longest, David probably knows, is in high school I was so quiet. Like, I would not talk to anyone except for, like, the people I knew. And this man was hecka shy, and then senior year, I kind of was just like, it's the last year. Most of these people you're not going to ever see again. If you do, it's not going to be for a while. So I'm like, I pushed myself, like, branch out, just talk to people. That's how I got cool with David, his brother John, more people in our class. And then with photography, especially portraits, I'm like, wait, as I'm taking these photos of people, I'm getting to know them. I'm building connections with them. So when I started doing all these grad shoots, I'm like, these people are really cool. And I'm like getting to know them as we're walking from location to location. I'm learning about, like, what they studied, what they're going into in the future. Are they going into a master's program? Are they going to a job? Like, I don't know. Things like that, and learning little things about them, I thought was, like, really cool. And that's why I really, like, after, I think, 2021 especially, I'm like, I want to stick with portraits. And then 2022 was great because I met so many people. I made a lot of close friends just from taking photos. Right. And I love that factor, just, like, able to bring people together just from taking photos. Literally, yeah. It's dope. And I got to ask for the next question. How do you come up with your ideas for videos? Because for me, I noticed this a lot for me, especially when it comes to, like, video edits. You said what?
I fart them out. I'm like, oh.
I was going to say,
idea.
I was say, for me, for any video stuff, music helps a lot.
Yeah.
Come on, David.
But yeah, what we saying? Pretend that didn't even happen. Right.
So I was just saying, how do you come up with your ideas for films? Because I say for me, music helps me a lot. Especially if I do video edits, I listen to songs on repeat, like, a lot. Or I'll put a playlist of certain songs. I have a playlist literally in my Apple Music called "Use This for Edits" because I'm like, certain parts of this would be cool for basketball or whatever the case may be, or even just like a cinematic. So how do you come up with ideas?
So how do I come up with ideas? I just take, most of it is from music too, because music and score is a key factor in making a movie. I learned throughout the years, but also just other movies, other movies, and I look at the behind the scenes, kind of just to see also, like, okay, like, for example, Shutter Island, or any movie that has to do with like just just anything. Like I like my movies. I love psychological thrillers, so I'll look up the behind the scenes of on YouTube, and I'll look at it, and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is how the camera's set up. I like that. Let me go try that out. Or when I'm looking at a movie, I'll look at, what's the color palette? Like Wes Anderson's really good at this. His color sets the mood for the movie. And his angles and camera shots are really different from most other directors. So that's why you can be like, oh, this is a Wes Anderson movie. Yeah. So it's like, okay. So I kind of look at those things, and then I'll think about what I could do, like how I could implement that into a film, or even just go out, like you said, and just try it on your own. Just do something so simple. And I even have like on my phone, I have an album where I just do just random shots, like go outside and place my phone up and just try to do a random shot. Or I have a gimbal, I put my phone on and just do similar shots to what I've seen in these movies, and then I just go from there. I just keep doing it and practicing. So I mean, yeah. So and I know it's kind of different because it's different because it's just it's different holding a camera than holding a phone. Yeah. So it's like, but just having that movement down, and being able to.
But is it though? Is it that different?
Is it though? Yeah,
because that's a thing. Though.
Yeah,
when you're holding the camera, oftentimes you're holding it like this or like this. When you're holding a phone, you're holding it like this.
That is true.
So
that's true.
Isn't that different?
And in reality, it's not. It's really not. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would say looking at behind the scenes, looking at other movies, and then score music. So yeah, for sure that.
For one of the biggest movies that I really found to love last year was the Batman. The latest Batman movie was like I loved like
that the other day.
I need to rewatch that, but like I just love like the dark feel of it, the shots, everything was so cool. I was at the movies like whoa, like the entire time I'm so invested. I'm like this thing's 3 hours, whoa, like for like 20 minutes.
Literally,
like the story amazing, the shots amazing, the colors amazing, the sound amazing. Like I loved every aspect of that movie.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm trying to like get into more movies. So I'll just text you for suggestions because I'm like I need to get into more stuff because I feel like I just spend more time just like on YouTube or something when I'm like I know there's some good stuff out there. There are some YouTube pages that I follow. I'll have to send them to you, but they like are like people like our age, but they'll like document their life, like travel stuff, college, and they make like really cool cinematic stuff on that. And I kind of like try to get some ideas from that as well.
Okay, yeah.
And then one thing I wanted to come into next was just talking about the It's Too Late project. So how did you kind of come up with everything for that? Because I was the editor for everything, and I remember I remember we had like a FaceTime call in the beginning of this, and I was in my head, I'm like, okay, how's this gonna look though? And then you started sending like bit by bit, and then I feel like everything kind of started to piece together because you sent things like in order, and then it was just like everything was clipped in the way that you wanted. So it was actually, from my perspective, really easy to kind of follow along your idea. So how did that kind of form?
Man, like I said, going back to when I first got introduced to like horror, so that was my first. I was just thinking of just to make a kind of a short, like creepy,
we got to do
horror film.
We should do one.
Yeah. So I was thinking like I could let's just try this out because I mean what's gonna. It's not gonna hurt to try it out, So I know I came around. I actually taught myself, and it probably was wrong. The script was wrong, probably, but I taught myself how to kind of build somewhat of a script, and after that, I kind of thought about, okay, who am I gonna get to be a part of and act, and that was kind of where I kind of stumbled, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna get this done. Like, this is not gonna happen. But having some like really good friends like David, Eli, Olivia, they were just like, yeah, we'll help you out. Yeah. So I was like, man, and that really meant the world. I was like, yo, okay, so I got people who want to be a part of this. So I was like, well, let's see if I can up a notch and try to find a editor. Yeah. So I was like, in a way, I was thinking like, okay, I'm being a low key like a director right now. I'm a director trying to find out my production system, my cast,
like
and
assemble your team for it.
yeah, and so that's why David had told me about you, and I'm like, okay, because originally I was gonna pay someone like, $600 to just, so it was like,
and that's what I told him. I was like,
yeah,
I was like, that seems a little steep. I was like, I know my boy Eric, like, obviously, like, I wouldn't be like trying to, cheapskate you, but at the same time, I'm like, $600. That's a crap ton of money,
yeah,
like, for for what the short film is. And so I was like, hey, Eric, he does video stuff, photography stuff, like, that's my boy. Let's get y'all connected.
Right. Yeah. So then he mentioned you, and then that's when we had that FaceTime call, or I texted you and we had a FaceTime call. And I was nervous because I was like, I'm like, man, I got my.
Why would you be nervous?
I don't know why. I don't know, man. It was just like I was just I'm so used to like also prior to making my decision to follow my passion with movies and films. I've always been like disregarded. I don't know if you guys ever felt like that, but kind of I would say also during my sophomore year, I don't know what got into me that day where I was feeling like I wanted to kind of speak my mind, and but I went over to my friend's house, and you know how every old like parent or someone that's older than you asks you, what do you have planned for your career or future? So I was at the point of time, I was like, all right, well, I'm playing basketball. I hope to go to college here. But then I kind of said, I do love film, and I do love movies. So hopefully, if basketball doesn't work, then film and movies will be something that I would go into, knowing that this is what I wanted to do all along. But so what he says, his dad says, he says, you should stick with basketball. It's more for you.
Wow. So it's like you don't know exactly what I want, kind of.
Exactly. So I kind of took that
as
crazy. Yeah, I kind of took that as a at the time I took that as like a kind of encouragement in a way, but at the same time it wasn't. I like as I began to get the same comment from other people, many other people, I started to realize, like they're just looking at the outside of me, and they don't know how much I know or how much I love movies, and how like I'll take the time to just study throughout the whole entire day. But I think they were just looking at me from the outside, but they didn't feel, or they didn't know or feel how I felt from the inside. So that was like I don't know where I was going out with that, but what was I going out with that? What was I going at that? Kind of lost myself.
You're good, because I enjoyed that. But I will say kind of similar for me, because growing up I was big into basketball too. I played basketball up until high school. I stopped because I was playing it because my brothers. I originally just started playing because my brothers were, and then actually I really enjoyed it. But then I'll say 7th, and I say 8th grade, I was kind of like, like I don't know if I want to try and do this in high school, because at the time, as most kids that age would do, just play video games. I'm like, this is cool, and I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, but what if I made videos? So at first, I actually did kind of get into video stuff before photography, because I was like, videos would be cool. So then I would literally just take random clips from a video game, or literally just even as a kid, I can dive into this in a little bit. Anything I had on video, I would try to just edit something. I'd use the what is it, Windows Movie Maker on the computer, the free program. I put stuff in there, and I'm trying to edit. It's so hard to use because you can't really do a whole lot of effects. And I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And then I kept doing that in high school, just on the side. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but what do I really want to do? And then again, that's when I led into photography and found that. But even as a kid, I forgot to mention this. Growing up, my brother Matthew, who you met earlier, we were both very creative with things as kids. We had this little thing. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It's called a flip video. It's this little, it's a little device. Literally, all it does is literally a point and shoot video, probably filmed at 720 quality. But it's literally this tiny little thing, a little rectangle. Think of it as a really small iPhone, all you literally do is just press record on it, and then at the top you hit a little button and you just plug it directly into your computer and you have all the footage.
I think my mom had one of those. I'm not gonna lie.
We would run around and just film all these different things. We had Lego characters. We do stop motion animation with that. Like have like a whole battle with them. And even with like camera as well. Like we had a point and shoot camera. We do stop motion animation with that. And then we had like RC cars. We taped this little video camera on and do races and have like a POV of the car. Like
no way.
Like that's kind of what started everything low key. Cause like it's because my brother, and I think even from that, what's actually started everything was when he first showed me YouTube when I was like a few years old. He just showed me random things on YouTube like Legos. I'm like, whoa, like videos and video making look really cool to me.
Right.
So I think honestly that might have been the start of everything for me, and that just was kind of in the back of my mind while also just in school and basketball and everything. But I think another thing I want to kind of talk about is what we mentioned earlier. Just kind of inspirations. Actually, when we kind of covered your inspirations. David, I'd say we gotta get you talking in this.
Yeah.
Who do you have as inspirations in terms of your video stuff? Because I will show you, Amir, after this. We did make in like 2021 a little like really quick one take short film thing with this mask we did like a Halloween shoot with. And his ideas in this were so good. And I was like, we gotta make more stuff. So what ideas do you have?
In terms of like inspiration, like I'm low-key not joking when I just say I fart them out, because like legit, like I'll just be going out throughout my day and I'll just be like, what the heck? Like that could work. And then like maybe I'll start thinking of like music to use, like songs and stuff. A lot of times though, I don't write them down, so then the ideas never actually get like produced to anywhere. I know.
You gotta make
I need to.
It's
do
all part
that.
of the learning process though.
Yeah,
I do that a lot
definitely.
too. Yeah, I forget to write stuff down on my phone and stuff.
But like I don't know. I feel like one like for inspiration, like I'm like a pretty big Star Wars fan. Like grew up on it. So like in terms of movies that are inspiration, like Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings.
Love Lord of the Rings.
And like in terms of like the like type of like in terms of drama, like I would say like adding like just dramatic flair and stuff, like Lord of the Rings, like just how epic like those the battles and how big of a scale those were.
Right.
And like to me, one of the like scenes that stick out the most from Lord of the Rings, at least, is like Boromir's death in Fellowship of the Ring, like how he's like sacrifices himself and just like that the music when you can't hear anything except the arrows like hitting like his like flesh, and while the music's playing, like that to me, I'm like that's like the peak of like of cinema right there. And so it's like just trying to achieve anything like that's similar to that. Like that's awesome to me.
I was say because there are many times where David will there's times last year you just call me like, yo, I have this idea for a video, and then we never do it. But I'm like, we gotta just like act upon these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know you're busy, David. But like especially in the summer, we gotta just be like, okay, what projects do we all want to do? Like, I'd say like as a group, okay, like let's come together. Literally just write it down. Like what things do we all agree should be like our priority, and what are things to like, okay, maybe, but let's see like what we want to get done. Because like when we like would make stuff, like even if it was just like literally like a one take, like no like script or anything, it was like really cool to me. Also, again, I'll show you after, but like that little short thing we made of the Halloween kind of thing, really cool. Like you made it really like dramatic. We did a few takes of you running away. He played like you were like the killer and also
it was just him and me, so we didn't.
Wait, what was the mask? What is the mask? What was it?
It was
again?
just
because I remember seeing it.
It was kind of like a silver.
It was, yeah.
Shiny
He literally went to like a
mask.
Halloween store.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, like let's try to use this for something.
Yeah.
So we got it, and then we were walking around at the train tracks, and like it was before Halloween, right? Or
Yeah,
after?
I think it was like right before.
Yeah, so it was like everyone was kind of in like that, the spooky mood.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, it was fall too, so it's like, we're walking around just seeing like the forest
weather,
trees and
Yeah.
the train tracks. I was like, this is a mood right here. Like, we got to do something. And then the little like creek that's like running through, like it was at the beginning. Like
That's right.
it was just, man, we
We
gotta
have-
do some
yeah,
more stuff.
100%.
And I wanted to ask too. So I know it's also important. I know to talk about like the struggles and like the bad things, the failures that happened along this journey, you guys' journey. So I would say, what was one or I don't know, multiple failures that kind of stuck to you, and not even even say a good way, because failures are, of course, the best thing for you to grow.
Growth.
So like, what was like a failures that kind of stuck with you?
That's a really good question. So I'd say in 2021, I feel like I reached a plateau in like the fall where I feel like I wasn't really growing in terms of my work, and I feel like also just like I wasn't getting like bookings. Obviously that's kind of like bookings and like the actual work is kind of separate because that's the business side and like the work side. But I feel like on both parts I was like I could do better, but I really was still kind of in that early phase, so I'm like I didn't really know exactly what to do. So that's why I would literally be like, David, you free? Let's just take photos. Like, I'd for the longest time, I'd reach out to so many different brands, local and like out of state, and I'm like, yo, like here's my work. Some of them would be like, get back to me, yeah, sure, I'm down, and then nothing. So it was plenty of times where I would literally just kind of shoot my shot with brands and with people, nothing. Like I even at the time, it's kind of crazy. I'd offer like free shoots to like people, like you want to just model for this, and people wouldn't do it. Nowadays,
or they flake on you.
Yes, and nowadays it's people from. I'm just gonna say it. From people from the school I'm going to, Sac State, will be like, "Yo, do you need a model?" I'm like, "No, I'm kind of busy with clients." So now it's like, it's kind of funny how things change for me being consistent. Like back then, I was so like stuck, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do anything with this. And I kind of reached a point. I remember like, I still remember this, like August of 2021. I'm on like a family vacation in Oregon. And I'm just out there, like, and I'm just like, man, I'm like, I was kind of reflecting, like, can I do something with this photography? I'm like, I'm taking the photos, but I'm not loving them. Like, there's a photo, let me see. This one right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's literally just, like, I thought it was just cool. Like, the sun's peeking through and stuff. But I looked back on it later on, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I could have done this better. So I was kind of hard on myself because I felt like I should be doing better. And comparison was such a bad thing. And I'll give you the advice on that. Do not compare your work to any other filmmaker, no matter where they're at, no matter where you're at, because I was constantly on Instagram and TikTok looking at photographers who've been doing it 4 or 5 plus years. And I'm like, how come I don't have the clients that they have? How come my work isn't looking like theirs? And it's like, well, because you haven't had that time to grow. Right. So I think comparison was a big thing that messed me up. And then in like 2022, I was just like, no, like I'm literally just gonna do it how it works for me, and it's helped and it's worked. And you know, I hear great results from my clients and family. Oh, I love your work, and just I don't know, I've just been kind of doing my thing since. So yeah, I'd say for a setback, it was literally just like feeling like I was stuck because of comparison and being hard on myself. The social media factor, I know I tell David this all the time. I was so hard on myself.
I was gonna say, to speak on that, I do remember having like a handful of comments.
Guys, battery died, but now we are back. Now, David, going back to what you were saying about me being hard on myself, we had conversations.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember having those conversations of just like, oh man, you would talk about like the algorithm too a lot, like the TikToks, and like honestly, like lately, like you don't really care. You're just like, I'm gonna post my stuff. Like, you know, it's gonna do what run its course or whatever. But during that time, it was kind of like a slum of like, oh man, like I didn't get as many views as I wanted. Man, like this is tough. It's like these other creators are doing da 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 da. I'm trying to do da 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 da. And it was a lot of that like comparison. And I would say, not that it was like a bad thing, because I think everyone like goes through that at some point. So I think it was good that it happened for you early, like early on, like in your what I think I know is gonna be a long career in this. So as long as you kind of set yourself straight after, which you did, and you're just like, look, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm gonna do what I think is gonna look good, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna expand on what I've learned and grow from that instead of like comparing. So you have really grown from that, and like I've seen that, and I think it shows in your work too. Like early on versus now, like you're just like, this is my style. Yes, and I'm rolling with
that's really good. So yeah, Amir, a big thing I always point this out with David. A lot of my stuff early on, I'm trying to point a few things out. Like maybe down here and a little bit up here, you see everything's just like blue and orange edits, right?
Yeah. I like the to me the one that sticks out is the card one, and then like the one with your shoe.
The card one. I first
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that like.
Yeah. See, that was all because that's what I was seeing online, Instagram, TikTok. That's what was doing numbers. I'm like, oh, I want that. And then I would do some things, certain things would work, other things wouldn't. I'm like, well, how come it didn't work for me? And it's like, well, eventually, I came to realize by like end of 2021, I'm like, it's because you're not producing your own, like you're not being yourself and showing your own work.
Exactly. Like, you look like every other guy out there.
Because at the time on TikTok in like 2020, I went semi-viral just for posting like photo edits. I would be like, here's a different style people use, like how to get your photos look like, I don't know, Travis Scott's Instagram. I can show you some of that stuff, and that stuff would go viral. So then I would just like, I literally just went like literally just balls deep, honestly, like literally just like posted like multiple a day, just every day, boom, 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 just constantly trying to grow. And I got in this cycle where I'm like, I have to be constantly doing something, have to constantly be growing.
It wore you out too.
It really did. It did. You definitely noticed that.
I noticed it. It was like, dude. Like,
so then I reached that plateau in like the late 2021 where just, nothing was growing. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then like, I think that's kind of what like had me like at that burnout phase. So then like going into 2022, like it's more of content that I actually wanted to post. Like my TikTok now is literally everything that I think is cool. Like I'll just post, like I'll maybe be a part of a trend, but I think it's something that's funny. I'm not like trying to be a perfectionist and be like, this has to be good. I'm like, this is funny, cool, I'll just post it. Or this is kind of cool, sure. Because for the longest, I was literally just like focused solely on like numbers, not actually like my work. And then I realized in 2022, if I actually prioritize and put more effort into the quality of my work, that will actually be better for me, and I'll be happier. And it was. Yeah. And it's grown the business side of things, and I've been able to be blessed to grow everything, and I'm happy I did that, because just like, I don't know, it was a bad time just to be constantly like hard on myself about TikTok numbers. Like that really matters. Like
yeah, exactly. But I know that's like a being a creator, that's the one thing I'm like, man, I wish social media was like you could do it you can do it other ways than social media. But since social media is the biggest platform, it's like, okay, this is the best way possible. Yeah. So it has its pros and cons, but yeah, I definitely, I'm with you on that on comparing yourself to other creators, but in just retrospect, just being yourself and doing what describes you, and then turn that into a film. That's how I feel. That's a big downfall for sure. I'll say one failure or a couple, or just like, man, just going outside and bringing my tripod, like just for this upcoming film that I'm making. There have been times where I put my tripod and people will walk by and just like knock it over. So it was kind of
What?
Like purposefully just be like boom.
Nah, kind of like, well, in a way, I wouldn't say it was purposely, but they know it's there,
like, don't care,
and they kind of just they bump into it, and it's happened a lot of times. So I'm like, so then you start getting embarrassed, and it's like, man. So I would say that's one really big, and I remember the first time it happened, I was like, I went home and I said, man, I don't know if I'm gonna go back out the next day, but I was like, I had to kind of think about it again. I was like, am I gonna let this one little incident kind of just dictate my whole career? Because in reality, that's nothing. That's a piece of dust. So like, literally, not even a piece of dust. Maybe like a atom. But so it's like it, because whenever I think, and I also think like whenever something happens or something goes wrong, I put my mind, I put my shoes and mind in like the bubble of a director. So I'm like, okay, just say Martin Scorsese, he's known for, just coming up with stuff on the fly and solving problems in seconds or minutes, where other people, it takes them weeks to do. So that's why he's known to be like one of the best directors, just because of how he can problem solve. So it's like, okay, if that's gonna that's even one thing. That's not even that's just other people. That has nothing to do with like the set. So it's like, that's one thing. That's out of my control. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then I would say what's another kind of like going back to what I was saying about listening to other people and kind of letting their opinion kind of base how I was going about my career and what I wanted to do with film. Just having them tell me, you know, like I said earlier, like people saying this basketball journey is more for you. So I remember there was this theater class. It was this sophomore year also. And then I just regret not going to it because of just how my friends would think, and you know, so that's one thing I would say it's a bit of a failure because I would have learned so much in that time, but you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, I went.
You live and you learn, honestly.
Yeah, you live and you learn, and yeah, I'd say there's gonna be a lot of failures in the future, really big failures, but I can say that I'm getting ready for it, and I know I can say I won't even look at it as a failure. I can just say it's a lesson. Yeah, it's a lesson just to, you know, learn from what happened and what you could have done better, how you can prevent that. So,
if you're not winning, you're learning.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So there's no, in my book, I just think that, you know, we call it failure, but in a way, it's really not. It's just like you're learning.
Part of the journey.
It's part of it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's part of it. Yeah.
I just remember 2 like L's I took actually last year within photography. So I have a sports photography job. I photograph a men's league, which championship games tonight, so I'm excited. Gotta be heated. So like, yeah, the first like few shifts, I took the photos how I thought would look best, and then my boss sends me a long email and is like, hey, like we actually want the photos like this. We want only this amount of people in the photo. Like he was like had these very like strict guidelines, and at first I like took offense to that at first, and I'm like in my head I'm like, you're gonna tell me how to take photos. I'm like, oh wait, I shifted my focus. I'm like, wait, this is like how they want it done, and I'm just kind of like that middleman to provide those photos for them. So now I'm like, okay, no, like let me not get in my head about that. So that was kind of an L on that. Because then a few weeks ago I look back on myself, I'm like, no, that was stupid. I'm like, he's just like, you know, they have a layout they follow. I'm like, okay, sure. And like, I have no problem with that. Then the other one, I know I told David about this. I had a grad shoot where the client like was very, very needy. And like, so first off, I was like pretty much already booked fully for May. Yeah. And I had like one day, and I was going to keep this day available just to sit here and edit all day. I had so many shoots to edit. And she's like, hits me up a few days before, like, hey, like my photographer, like, I don't know what the excuse was, but something with her photographer. And I'm like, I can do this day, but it has to be at this time because I'm very busy. I literally had a final that day as well. Yeah. And we go and do this shoot. At first, she was chill, and then eventually she's like asking all these different things. And then by the end, so what I do for my shoots is like a time frame, like an hour and a half, however they book. We shoot for an entire hour and a half, going through the entire campus, all these different spots. And she wants just 4 photos all at one spot, 2 different poses. And she wanted me to go in and not even do like my edits how you see with like the colors and stuff. She wanted me to go in and just like airbrush her entire body. And that was it. And I was like, and she's like, can you send me like the raw images as well? Which that as a photographer, you hate that, to sending raw images, because it's like that doesn't represent you and your work. So she goes in and looks at, okay, boom, those big photos. Old watermark on it. But like right. And then then I was like, in that moment I had to realize, okay, like as this whole session is going on, I got my brother Austin there with me as my assistant. I'm just trying to think, okay, how can I bounce back from this? And then I just, okay, well, the session's almost over. Let's just be like as like, you know, friendly as possible. And then I do that, I get the photos, and then she requests that. I'm like, okay, well, it's gonna charge X amount of money, because I'm like, I want to be compensated for doing something that I don't go in Photoshop and touch up people's faces or bodies. So I'm like, okay, dude, I'll do this, but in the future, this is not happening. And that's how I've been since. So like, that was kind of like a learning lesson. And I know there's definitely be more things in the future where I'm sure it'll be, whether it be a client, brand, whatever, that will try to, you know, push their way and have their way, where it's like, no, this is how I do things. Yeah. You can see it within my work. If that's, you know, how you don't want to do things, then go to the next photographer, because I don't want to, like, this is the biggest thing in 2023 I'm trying myself, is to not settle, because a lot of people will try to hit me up for things that I don't do. I had a guy hit me up, hey, can you be my go-to videographer for YouTube. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for that. Like, and I take photos for clients. Like, I'm not gonna be your whole set videographer to work on your time when I have school and my business to work on. And I'll have people that try to hit.
Are you gonna be paying me?
That's the other thing. And other people try to lowball. A big thing with people that so I'm sure you've seen her on my Instagram, Jazzy. I'm one of my model friends. I'll post like our work, and people that she knows will follow me and DM her, not even me, and be like, hey, can your photographer do free photos for me? Hey, can your photographer get me a discount because I know you? And it's like, and she'll send me all this. I'm like, yo, this is terrible. Like, if you
she's a real one for showing you that.
That's what I'm saying.
She's really cool. I want to meet her.
You definitely. Well, when we set it up,
we all gotta do some like either photo shoot, which that would actually be cool. A film, like, and just kind of write down all of our collab stuff.
So people like that's another thing. People will just try to like have their way in the sense and just like they like that's the thing. I said this to Jazzy, and I was like, photographers and videographers and filmmakers get treated very terribly within this industry because people think, oh, that all they're doing is pointing a camera at you. All they're doing is clicking a button, holding it here. And it's like, bro, there's so much that goes into it. So when people try to get free stuff from me or discounted, I hate that.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, no, not doing that. See you. Like, that's just how I am. Maybe back in the day when I was just starting out, sure, it would help me practice. But I know how I do things. I know how my style is. So I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So
play around
that's
with
respect because there's a lot of people that just like they'll do, and we see this in I wouldn't even say just in a broader in more areas in life. Like people will settle, people will do whatever they want, just or whatever they can do to obtain that fame, clout, or whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah, no, staying true to yourself and sticking to that is really defines defines yourself as a creator / photographer / filmmaker. You know,
I had a good point. I was just gonna bring up for advice. I'm sure I don't know if you've had this yet, but I'm sure you'll get in the future. Don't let people try to tell you how to like do a film because there's so many times where people try to tell me, hey, your photos are great. I mean, you have so date all this time, but you should do this better. You could edit this better. And it's like, that's my style. That's my thing. That's what's great about all of what we do is because it's subjective and it's true to like how I do something may not be how you would do something, and how you do something may not be how I do something.
And both, it doesn't mean one's good and one's bad.
Yeah.
Right. Both can still be good.
Yeah, you know? And they can be mixed together to make something even better.
So I say, so that's advice. Like, don't let anyone be like, hey, you should film something like this. Hey, you should just, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. So, like, just stick to what you want to do and what you think will be best for you and, like, your work. So that's a big thing that I'd tell you for that.
It's like some stuff, too, like, like there might be, you know, tips or tricks that someone might, you know, try to give you and stuff. It's like, sure, try them out. Like, why not? But if it doesn't work for you or you don't like it, it's like, forget it.
Right. Taking criticism, I feel like taking criticism is really good. But if you have that feeling where it's just like, okay, I tried it, but this isn't really what I want. I really don't, this doesn't fit my style. Then, like you said, don't just keep feeding into that.
For other people.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know some criticism may, like, I've even having criticism from my mom, like her. I would show her a film, and I showed her first film, and she would say, you know, this looks good, like, but you could have added this out, and I was like, so I'm like, bruh, mom, what? But I'm like, this is my thing, but I'm like, you know, maybe, you know, sometimes like, you know, criticism can be really good for you because it can be like, okay, you know, this could have, you know, you could have added this, and I would even tell myself, I was like, okay, this could have been added out. This could have been moved a little over to the. So in a way, I was like, okay, but if someone, I get if someone's like trying to completely change your whole style, that's where it gets like, you know, and we see that a lot in like the movie industry too. Like I remember I was watching Quentin Tarantino, one of his interviews, and he was talking about how, you know, someone was trying to change his script and they wanted to add another scene in his movie to kind of, they were going to give him extra $1,000 to just add this little scene in. And then Quinn was like, no. He was like, you're not going to just change my movie. My movie's for me. Like, you guys are invited, but this is for me. So it's like, I really took that as like like you said, don't let anyone change your eye or your thoughts and ideas. So
you have to like stand firm on like what you know is best for you and your style. So that's like something I try to remind myself. But another thing, which it seems like you don't like, I don't know, but it seems like for you, you don't like let social media try to dictate you and how you should do your things. Because for me, that was a big thing for me, is I'd see all these different things and I'd want to do it because, oh, this guy's doing it on social media, this looks cool. So that's advice for you. I'm like, if you see something on social media and sure, it may look cool, but then in retrospect, you're just doing it for like numbers, I'd advise you to not do that. Because like for now, like I have a series on Instagram where it's literally just like Tip Tuesdays and stuff. I do that solely. I do that solely because I just enjoy like sharing advice to people that want to learn, or like the like the Film Friday series I did. Where I thought that was a cool concept where I can mic up my model so people can kind of get an insight of what it would be like if they book me. They can see kind of like that little like between, I don't know, me and Jazzy going back and forth, just like that like dynamic, so people can kind of understand, okay, like this is what it'll be like if I were to book Eric for a shoot. So I thought that was kind of another way of kind of like, I don't know, making myself more authentic, I guess, because everything else for me was really just like, okay, here's the behind the scenes, here's the photos, here's like a cool cinematic shot photos. So I was like, let me kind of, add like my, like, I don't know, more of me within my work, if that makes sense. So that's something I would advise as well.
Yeah, man. I thank you for that. I thank you. I'm gonna definitely take that into thought and put that in, to my whole this journey, So one thing I also wanted to ask too, both of you guys is, so how do you guys go about studying wise? So like, of course, we have to study whatever we're doing, of course, to get better. So I mean, if that means like studying, let's say textbook or even like other videos or like YouTube, you said. So like, how do you guys go about like that? Even with whatever you guys do, like even film and just whatever. Like, how do you guys go?
When I was first getting into photography, every photographer that I was watching, like those guys I was telling you I was watching, like the POV street photography, they strongly advise to just shoot in manual mode, so you have full control over ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And I was like, okay. And I know in the beginning it's going to take me a while to learn this, but the more I literally just go out and take photos of anything, I'll learn like the best settings for each condition. So now when I go into a shoot, I know exactly what I need to do. For work tonight, I know I got to be I know by heart ISO 1250 because the lighting's not that good. Aperture 2.8 because I want the subject in focus with a decent amount of blur in the background, and shutter speed 1/800 because I can't have it too slow because I don't want the subjects to be blurry as they're doing a jump shot, layup, whatever. And like a lot of it is literally just like literally learning, just like going out and learning. Yes, watch the videos, but the best way to actually learn and apply that is going out with your camera and just trying stuff. Now, when it comes to me and video stuff, I do sit down and watch videos. Like for your editing your thing, I was watching different ways to color grade and like learning that because I feel like a rookie when it comes to in terms of video stuff. But shooting video, I kind of just wing it, honestly. I'm kind of like David, where I'm like, oh, I have an idea for a video. Boom. And I just try that. I can show you, I made an edit like from literally going on a quick day trip to Tahoe with my family. The whole time I'm like, I'm just going to do this like for fun. And I just like literally just thought of things on the fly, and I really liked how it turned out. Nice. Or even like a little less than a year ago, I went to Pismo Beach for like a few days with my family. I literally just did everything on the fly. I wasn't hard on myself to be like, you have to get this shot. I literally was like, fly my drone up. The sun looks cool. All right, let's see how this looks. I have my camera, and I was able to I'll show you after I made like a 2-minute short film of just cinematics, and I loved it.
Man.
So like, yes, study, but go out and just do a thing. And that's like I tell David too. I'm like, if you have an idea, just go out and do it. I know you did one with your friend. Oh, this is like a while ago. Was it Lydia who like you got like the what did you? It was like a night thing, right?
Was that at the hill when we did it? Or
no, you did like it was like around Christmas time. I think you did like you went on like the little like Ferris wheel, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was I think 2 years.
I was saying you just like you literally just went out and just like, all right, I'm just gonna film it. And you made the edit, and it was like really cool.
Yeah, so it was one of my good friends, Lydia, and we already wanted to go to like downtown, like Old Sac area.
Yeah.
And I was like, you mind if I bring my camera and just like film you, messing around? And she was like, yeah, sure, do it. So we went, and and at the time, like it was night and dark, so like having like the lights and stuff like pop out, that was really cool. And then
I remember
like,
it was a photo, right? It was a photo or was it a video? It was a video. Yeah.
And so it's like
I
I'll have
remember
to
that.
pull it up, but yeah, like it just like flowed, and I didn't have like the whole idea of the video yet, but I was like, let's just film like some little fun shots, you know, do whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll think of something, you know, on the fly or like later when I'm editing and stuff. And so that's kind of how that happened. But in terms of like studying, I would 100% back up what he said. Like a little bit, like when I first started, like, I would like look up like videos.
Basics.
Yeah. And just kind of like to get an idea of like, okay, like angles or like camera movement and like setting up a scene, like where you're gonna have your actor, what kind of a shot do you want, like all that kind of stuff. So as long as like you kind of start like building like your base knowledge on that, like just go out and do it. And then I would also say location too, like for that like kind of like thriller like horror like short thing that Eric and I did. Like we had been to that location like a handful of times before, so like we knew the location really well. So it's like if you have a location in your mind that you want to film at or do photos at, it's very nice to like know that place.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like location
like Sac State. Like for him, like he has Austin and Jazzy.
Yeah, they know campus because they go there, so they know the campus very well. So I'm like I have like a set for all my set spots for all my grad shoots. And we do those. I let them select, okay, this spot here, that, okay. And then I'll go to them like, hey, like, what if I want to do something with like, I don't know, a nice like tree in the background or plants? And then they'll be like, oh, there's actually this spot over here, and they'll guide me to that. So location scouting is actually a very big thing. I don't know if you ever talked about that on the podcast, but that is really huge. Because in the beginning, like me and David would go to like the same few spots out here, but then we were just like, eventually we just ventured out. Remember that hill we found?
Yeah.
There's this spot we found. It was literally a hill, and we hiked it at like night, and we're up there doing
in Sac, or is
it's
here in
Folsom? Yeah, you see him with the lightsaber up there, and him standing with the stars. That's literally
what?
And so literally we hiked. We just saw this hill. We're driving like, yo, that would look cool. And we literally hike up it in pitch black, and we do star photography. And we're like, this is sick. And that became a spot for a while.
Man, bro, see, that's in memories are built in that.
That was one of the funniest things because I got lost on the way down.
Eric was like, yeah, like just follow me or whatever. I was like, okay. And then we start getting like down
right instead of straight down.
And so and then I'm like, wait, like you hear that? And it's the highway. Yeah. I was like, we didn't park by a highway.
We parked in the neighborhood.
I was like, we parked in the neighborhood. I was like, we should probably go the opposite way we're going, Eric. He was like, my bad. So then we started going. I was like, this looks more familiar. Like, there's a road right there. Like,
yeah, man, that's really encouraging to hear how you guys like study and stuff. Cause I like studying a lot, like too. Like I know when days I'm not doing anything at all, I'll just spend the whole day just in my room just studying. I'll go out to eat in the kitchen or something, but I'll go back and study. Like how I first really studied or started off was back previous when I was talking about Prisoners, which is one of my top, I would say top 5, just because of how I watched that movie and just because it's a great movie and all. So I would look at the because I really didn't know too much about the sets and stuff and the colors and so I was like, all right, well everyone looks at, let's look at the actors. So I look at I like this dude, I like Jake Gyllenhaal, let's see what other and Hugh Jackman. I'm like, okay, what other movies do they play in? So trickle down, and then I would go look at Enemy. Jake Gyllenhaal plays an enemy. Oh, Nocturnal Animals. What else? Donnie Darko. Nightcrawler. Yeah. So you start looking at all these, right? Then you go all the way back to the top, and you're like, all right, now who's the director? So you go back, you look at the director. So Denis Villeneuve. I would say Denny because his last name. And I say his last name, but Denny, I would be okay. So I look at all the movies that he directed, and then it's like a trickle effect. So I just like start branching off, and I'm like, okay, there's a director, actor in this this movie. Let me see what other movies they playing, and so that's one way I would like at least venture off into other movies and stuff, watching other films, and I would just branch off like that, and then I used to go on YouTube, and I forgot the channel, but basically what they do is they kind of show you examples of what like a cast setup, and they'll do like 1 10-minute scene, or they'll do like 1 10-minute setup, and it's like it's a one man, and then they'll do like a versus a 10-man, like a cast setup. So how the difference looks between the two. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay. And then whenever I get to watch movies, I start to appreciate it more, because I'm like, oh, they did this in this movie. They put the shading is different, and the lighting is they have the lighting, or this is the over the shoulder shot. And I don't know if you guys seen La La Land. Have you guys ever seen it?
I don't think I have.
It's a beautiful.
It's a good movie. Bro,
It's
I never would have ever thought of ever seen like watching that movie, right? But just seeing like, wow, like there's this one scene where, and they also do this in Whiplash too. It's a really good movie. They have this scene where they just keep swinging it, right? And I'm looking like behind the scenes, and there's this dude. He's just tapping his shoulder, and he's like tapping it to turn the camera. And I'm like, so I watched the movie again, and I'm like, whoa! I start to appreciate it way more.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, yeah, studying. I love, studying is just an amazing part of, anything you do. So yeah, for sure.
And I gotta ask, as we kind of close this out, what are some of your future plans and projects for people to look out for?
Man, this not previous, but this recent film, this is gonna be my second film, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna probably drop around, so it's today's the 15th, so I'll say Saturday or Sunday will be like the day that it's really gonna come out. So and it's a special one, especially how I was telling you how I ran into those issues, and people just kind of disrespecting, and
makes it a little more special.
Makes it way more special, yeah. And so, and then in the future, man, I really don't even know yet. I just keep. I'm so new to it. I'm still so new, so it's just like I can say what we have planned. Yeah, that's what I can say. Watch out for the future. What content we make, and what films and short films we make. So hopefully that will all come into play, and I know it's gonna be special for sure. So yeah.
One thing I want to ask before we outro this. So you were big into basketball, but then like that shift kind of focused. Are you still able to play basketball and still have that love for it, or you just look at it as kind of that's in the past? Because for me, for a while, it was like I love basketball, and then once high school hit and I stopped playing it, I didn't care to play it, really watch it. But then, which is interesting.
Oh, it was just nice.
Oh, okay. You're good. And then
I thought of something. I was like,
that's good. There you go. So what I found was interesting was as I got into photography, and I'm taking photos of my brothers for fun, and then I got the job last year, I got back into basketball. Photographing I thought was cool. I'm back watching the NBA games, college basketball. Got March Madness starting up in a few days. Yeah. Still need to finish my bracket, by the way. And then even just like getting back into playing it, like I got LeBron. I ordered some LeBrons. They got those on the way coming. So yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. Photography I had that shift away from it, but then it brought me back, which is interesting. So I wonder do you look at basketball like, oh, I can still play and watch it and all that, or you look at it as like maybe not, like I need a break from that because I did it for so long?
I can definitely say I can play now and not feel so pressured, and because I can tell you that, and I can say by the grace of God, it's just like how everything has changed me from when I was playing basketball. Like I put basketball at a pedestal, and that was my God. Yeah. And I used that, and I think it was so. I had so much resentment. I had so much jealousy in me, just because of how other people were, where they were at, and like you said earlier, comparing yourself, and that's how I feel that I was when I was playing basketball. But like I said, everything is happening for a reason, because now, I'm starting to, one, just thank God for everything that He's been putting me through, and strengthening my faith throughout this whole journey, and it's just beginning. So, but I can say I can love basketball. I don't really. It's kind of crazy because I was just talking about my friend the other day. I was like, yo, this is gonna be crazy, but I said, yo, March Madness is going on right now, and he's like, bro, yeah, like where you been at? And I was like, I'm like, oh man. So I can say it's definitely I basketball will be there, but it's just like I don't think it's something that I love in a way, but I can go and play and not be stressed out about going to the gym or just
like
being
pressure
perfect
of like being good on the court kind of thing, just more for fun. Right?
Yeah, more for fun, like just not trying to stress out to be perfect and I gotta do this and and all the politics and stuff like it's just strictly just having fun, cardio.
That's what David and I do. Sometimes
Yeah.
Rounds we're just like, hey, let's just hoop. Like we'll play a few games. We're
Yeah.
We're like, all right,
I'm dead.
Yeah, and then you lose, and sometimes like, and I remember I'm competitive, but when I remember I used to lose, and when I was playing, and boy, I used to be mad. I used to be like, oh my gosh, bro. I'd be like, yo. Like, what are we doing, y'all? Yeah. And this is we're at 24-hour fitness, and it's like it's not like where there's no recruits there watching you, bro. It's just your boys playing and some other people that you might not know.
Yeah, these guys just got off their 8-hour shift.
Yeah, literally, and you're like, yo, what are we doing? Like, and it's like, yo, like chill out. This is just 24-hour fitness, right? No scouts are here, no coaches, So it's like. But yeah, I feel like I can play and I can just be free and that's really just being free, having fun with it in a way where I don't have to like be perfect and be like perfect and that's it with anything, right? Because I mean we're all not perfect, we all have flaws, so it's like but yeah, just having fun with it now. Just and supporting my friends who do still play. So yeah, it's been a crazy like transformation. But I still love playing. Like I like playing for sure. Yeah.
And did you guys have any last topics you wanted to close out on, or?
I did have a couple. I think I had. So how was your support system like when you first started off? Like how was your like the support system of kind of telling or opening up to your peers about what you really wanted to do? Like how did that support system hold you?
You came in with the good questions.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
I would say this more applies to you because I just kind of like went with the flow
or with anything like anything in life, like just having like how did that support?
I know. So I could talk about like for me photography. Maybe you could talk about you shifting from starting with community college and then diving just strictly into work and shifting from job to job. So for me, when I first started out, it was more of, I think, especially my family just saw it as just like, oh, that's like, he's just doing it for fun. No, that's cool. Whole time in my head, I'm like, I'm doing something with this. I'm going to make it. I'm going to like make a job out of this. And like for the longest, I'm like trying to convince them, like as I'm keep doing work, so I'm taking these random photos. I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm going to do something with this. And I'm sure they're probably like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then like, probably honestly up until like maybe like a year ago is when they actually saw, oh, he can like actually do something with it, because I'm like, okay, like you see, I'm busy because I'm getting multiple bookings a week, even a few back to back in a day, and like I'm not even gonna talk numbers, but I'm able to make good money. Like I was even at the point, like I say, like in April and May last year, I was working retail job at Kohl's, and then my basketball photography job, and then my business. From just my grad shoots alone, I was making more than both the retail job and the photography job combined. So I was like, I think there's something special with this. And that's when I honed in on the grad shoots, and I literally just like found a method that worked for me in terms of like networking. So I'd run like Instagram story ads, and it like, I don't know, I want to say like it's a luck, but like I feel like my work kind of spoke for itself. So people kept reaching out. Oh, I love your photos. Boom, they book me. Like I have people that are wanting to book me for grad students class of 2024, and I'm like, whoa, okay. So it's kind of like, in the beginning, it's gonna be like people will be like, oh, okay, cool, he's just having fun, he's just doing a hobby. But like, I feel like the more you build yourself up, you get recognized for, oh, you're that photographer guy, and for you, oh, Amir makes films, and like, all these different things. So the more you kind of like build up your name, people will know you for that thing, and they'll see you're actually good at that. Because a lot of people that meet me now know me as, oh, he's the photographer guy.
Right.
Like, not whereas like, oh, he's just like a college kid, like,
Yeah.
So like, and like a lot of people I'll meet at like the gym lifetime that I photograph, they see me out there taking photos, and they see the work I produce, and they're like, yo, like, how much for like a family shoot? How much for my son's senior portraits? How much to film this? And it's like, it's really cool to get like that recognition, because in the beginning everyone just sees it as like, oh, he's doing it for fun. And like, people from our high school, they would just see like, oh, he's just doing his thing. Now it's kind of funny because I'll see people from our high school, I'm like, I haven't talked to you in a while, and they start following the photography, and they'll like, I've had a few people that be like, hey, like, I really love your work. I'm like, oh, thanks. But I'm like, I hadn't heard this, like, I hadn't talked to you in high school or didn't hear anything when I first started out. But as things kind of come into fruition, it like, people are like, realize, oh, he's actually like doing something with it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll get that too as you keep building up. David, I want to ask for you, did you have any kind of...
I think for me, there's like two things. One, like in terms of work, because like I went to community college for like, it wasn't even a whole year, it was a semester, and it was like peak COVID, and like I just figured out that wasn't for me. And so then I went into working for a construction company, and for the most part, like everyone was super supportive. There's always like the people that like are like just they drive hard, like, oh, college, like education, blah blah blah. It's like I get it, but for me, I was like, it's just not for me. Like I just couldn't do it, and so just like kind of working, and honestly, like working so soon, like out of high school too. Like for me, like it taught me a lot about like just hard work, and like you can like get to a decent place like from hard work, like and like before I would say honestly I was like lazy, not gonna lie, and like not willing like to put in work, and not willing to like yes, I had goals, but I wasn't willing to put in work to achieve those goals. Whereas now, like just from that like work experience, and like having like just a support of my parents and my family, like I'm like, no, like the goals I have are like very attainable, and they're not like small goals, but they're definitely, in my mind at least, attainable. And so like that, in terms of work, that I would say that's that. The other thing though, that's like my newest hobby, is line dancing.
Oh yeah.
And like starting out with that, I would say it's similar, where people are like, oh, like he just goes for fun, like but I started like being more serious about it, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna learn like all these dances. I had that competition last weekend. Out of 28 people, I was a top 10 finalist.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what it. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
And so it's like I was honestly that night, like I was bummed, like that I didn't like win it, and because like one of my good friends from the place, he had won it, so I was happy for him. But I'm like, man, like my homie, dang, like I wish that was me. And so that was actually just like a really cool experience, and it kind of like seeing all of that work and time that I'd put into like learning the dances, and kind of perfecting like that craft. It was really cool to see that like come to like where I'm at now, especially from like where I began, where I was like so lost on the dance floor, like man, I have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, like I'm confident enough to compete. I'm confident enough to teach, too. So that's been really cool. And yeah, I would just say at first, like people thought that I was just like kind of just doing it, like just to do it. But then I was like honestly, I thought I was just like kind of doing it for fun at first, and then like I kind of realized I'm like man, like I'm pretty decent at this. Like this is something that like I enjoy doing it a lot, like obviously, but also like I haven't had like any competitive juices flowing in a while, so it's like why not like do competition stuff too. And So yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely having a good support system is amazing. Like, I can say just because I'm just starting off, I can say family has been like a really good support system for sure. My mom, my grandma, like, and friends too, friends for sure, friends, and just having that support system, just be like, oh yeah, just yeah, we're supporting you, and just having that them behind me just to kind of see everything play out. I see a bunch of these. I know if you guys watched the awards recently.
Yeah,
just watching
I saw
that.
the highlights from that. That night was crazy.
Yeah, man, just watching that. I don't know. Like, I kind of got a little emotional because I like, man, bro, like one day, you'll, as much as people may think you're crazy, and like this is like a goal and it's out of reach, but one day you just build these goals that will lead up to that, and it's like you gotta start somewhere. I told myself, like, you have to start somewhere, and then that whole that was the breaking point, just starting, and then yeah, I was just watching that and I was just thinking, man, when that day comes, everyone that has been supporting me, it's gonna pay off, and it's yeah, definitely having a support village to help you. So, and then I did have a one question. I don't know how long we are going for. I don't know.
We get a little bit longer.
Yeah. So I was just gonna ask, like, so both of you, like for you in dancing and for you in photography, like are there any people or like photographers or dancers that you kind of like, oh, I like them, or like I like them, like, as an example, like for me, like, as if I look at like directors or actors, like, and I like them, like, what about like you, like photographers that you really like, or like
in the beginning, it was like those photographers I was telling you about, like in Australia, making all these different like street photography and car photography. Like, I'd really look up to them, like, I want to be like them, and that's why I kind of copied their editing style and things like that. And then I'd say up until maybe last year, I feel like I don't really like. I don't want to say I don't look up at anyone, because there's definitely photographers I follow. I'm like, I really like your work, but at the same time, I don't want to like look at their work too much and like look up to them too much to then eventually be wanting to like be like them and copy their style. Like, I'll look at like a photographer, videographer, whoever. I'm like, oh, I really like that, but I'm gonna keep just doing my style. And that's something I'd like advise you. Like, definitely, I think it's different within like movies and filmmaking, because you can look up to different directors and actors and admire what they do. But again, it's stuff like what we pivot off of what we said earlier. It's just kind of finding your own style, because people will definitely like notice if you're kind of like trying to be someone else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And David, did you have anyone that you kind of looked up to?
For me, for dancing, I would say like one of the like people that I look up to is actually like my friend that one of my friends that won. His name's Derek, and he's been dancing for a good amount longer than me. So like just like knowing that like is already like encouraging. It's like, okay, like I haven't even been dancing like a year, and I'm already like at this level. So it's like in 2 years from now, 5 years from now, like just like knowing that is really cool. But I look up to him just in terms of like, so like in dancing, like he adds his own flair to it, and it just like, I don't know, it's something different. Like if you like in videos, if you see him next to other people, you're like, this dude is like just, he's just different. Like, and so that's something that like I kind of want to get to. And part of it, like him, is like it's his like body control, and just like every like movement is like precise and like very intentional with what he wants to do, but it doesn't look robotic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it just, he's smooth with it. Like, that's how I'll say it. Like, he's just smooth with it. So like he's like probably one of the people that right now I look up to the most. And then there's like a few people on YouTube and TikTok that will do like tutorials and stuff. And honestly, that's how I've learned a lot of the dances too. Is just lesson videos and all that. So
I definitely, that's good, man. I'll say pivoting, like exactly what you said, not being too keyed in and focused on trying to look up to someone too much, right? And stuff like that. I would say one thing that I can definitely say that I not even look up to, but it's kind of like encouragement. Just the amount of like, people in more so directors that are, that are similar to me, because I mean, people, like I said earlier, looking from the outside in, they look at a kid, and most of the time it happened the other day too. Someone asked me, "Oh, what are your plans like?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a film student. I'm teaching myself right now, but I'm planning on going to Sac State or wherever, right?" And they said, "Oh, well, you look like a football player or a basketball player to me."
Bro, I'm like, that's what when people say that, it's one of the most like frustrating.
It's frustrating
because they put you in a mold, like they try to like put you in a box, like to try to like I don't know, and it's like I guess like in some cases like I guess that's like natural like for like people to try to do, but like if you're like since you're not that, and like it's like you're so much more than like just what little like thing box that they're trying to put you in, like it's frustrating,
and I kind of just. I learned this is what I'm saying. It transformed me because the old me would have popped off and been like, "Yo, you don't know who I am." But me like as I'm saying, I'm transforming. So I'm like, I'm creating. I have I'm not creating, but I have more patience and I know myself, so I don't have to prove to anyone who I am now because it's like I know who I am. So it's like
to let everyone know.
Yeah, you don't gotta say, "Oh, well, this is what I'm gonna like." You know who you are. Just let your stuff speak for itself. So it's like, I can say one thing like it's encouraging. I can say like, the directors that look more like me on the outside, like Ryan Coogler, who also went to Sac State for 2 years and then went to USC.
I was gonna say,
right, and and of course Jordan Peele, Antoine Fuqua, who directed the Equalizer series, like Guilty. He directed a whole bunch of
Equalizer's so good.
Who else? Even some of the female directors too. Like they're really good. And I think it's just so encouraging that they're able to. Oh, and I forgot. What Denzel Washington, who acts in his own movies and directs them. Fences, which is a really good movie. Michael B. Jordan, who just directed his own movie, Creed 3. If y'all seen it?
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You gotta see it.
You got it, bro.
It's solid. It is so good.
Yeah, but it's encouraging to just it's not even like I said, like in a way it's looking up to, but it's more of not looking up to, but it's more of a encouraging to know that like they've probably got this comment multiple times, if not more, because they're farther into the industry and they've made more. So I can just say that I know that they've gotten that same comment, and it's like for them to just keep pursuing what they're doing and just break through that wall and that box of being manipulated by society. It's encouraging. So I just every time I think or every time I get that comment, I just think like just don't let them place you, like you said, in a box and just and then have them manipulate your mind for what they want you to do.
Right. Yeah.
Not what you want yourself, your heart and your the inside of you to do. So it's like, I'd say that's definitely encouraging for sure. More encouraging. So.
And I'll say to outro this podcast, unless you guys had any other topics, I feel like we covered a lot. To outro this podcast, where can people find you in your filmmaking?
If you guys have social media, of course, just follow me at Redeemer Films.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, it'll be like right there.
Yeah. It's like somewhere over there.
But you can follow me on there. And just right now, it's kind of just venturing out on different things. So it's really not serious right now. Just trying to get used to holding a camera, getting the angles right, but. Just to see that growth from first starting out to where I in the future. So just that'll be my Instagram. And I'll soon maybe make a YouTube when stuff gets longer.
Sure.
And then that's about it for now. And just if you want to be a part of my like a film or be an actor in the film or even just be behind the scenes, just shoot me a message and then we could we'll work something out for sure and then just take it from there and just grow.
It's great having you on. Now I will say, guys, don't know when the next podcast will be because me and David are very busy. The few weeks is about to be crazy, and starting in April, every single weekend I have grad shoots, multiple a day. So, but I'm ready. I'm excited to work with these people. I love the busyness of it all, and then also school's just been super hectic. But I'm sure we can do something this summer. I think in the summer we come back and do another one, have you on. Yeah. But I think after we get like some type of film going, and then we can share with everyone the process. Because I'm sure there'll be funny moments, like the fails, the good parts, and all that. I think that'll be cool to just share that on here. Yeah, so, for sure. With that being said, appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Yeah.